Sometimes when you've been out with your Sony camcorder, you may have found that instead of focusing on your face, the Sony has focused on the background. That's a common thing when you just don't look at the focus and you let the camera do all the focusing. It doesn't actually know what to focus on. You can get over this to some extent by just tapping on your face and the automatic focus will look for your face rather than the background. That might help, but sometimes you've just got to use a thing on it called spot focus. In this shot, I focused on the plant by touching the screen. The table is out of focus and I can't focus on both. So when I'm using the camera general focus mode, the exposure for both the plant and table remains the same. In actual fact, it's just like an average grey. When I tap on the table, it comes into focus, but the exposure doesn't move. The focus time though is quite slow. If you go into the menu system and touch spot focus, you can go into the screen and just touch small areas that you want to focus on. Very, very useful. For instance, I might touch my eye on the screen to make sure my eyes are in focus, and that way it's really focused on you rather than the background. Spot focus doesn't change anything to do with exposure. In order to access the spot menu, what you have to do is go into the main menu at the top left hand corner. So you tap on that one. The first thing there is white balance, followed by spot meter focus. If you tap that one, you're going to get three options: spot meter focus, spot meter, and spot focus at the bottom. So if you want to just focus, press spot focus. If you want to just meter and not do the focusing, you press the middle one. And if you want to use both, metering and focusing, you use the top one. But we're going to use the spot focus for now. Spot focus does much the same as general focus, but it does it quicker, just moves quicker between the subjects. It's also a little bit more accurate because it targets smaller objects, but the exposure still doesn't change. Sometimes the picture is in focus and everything is nice and looks good, except for one thing. It's either too dark or too bright. The exposure is incorrect. Now what you can do in those situations is go into that spot menu and touch the spot meter. Now the spot meter, what that does is you can tap on something in the picture on the screen and it will expose for that thing. So if you're doing your face, you could perhaps tap your face. If you're in the shadow, it will come up really bright. Sometimes what I do is I tap on something in the background, because with spot metering, focus doesn't alter at all. For spot metering, which means it's going to be adjusting the brightness, what you do is you go into the very same menu, but this time you go to the middle option which says spot meter. When you press that, you go back to the screen and you press the area that you want it to meter. So for instance, there is a white area and you see the picture has gone slightly duller. I can click on the back and it goes slightly brighter. If I click on the blue, it's going to go very bright because it's just metering. The spot meter function doesn't focus anything, but it changes just the exposure. Here I metered the flower, so the background is too bright. By clicking on the table, the meter sees it as much brighter, so it adjusts the exposure, but not the focus. The third method of spot focus is combining the two things together. You get focus and you get exposure at the same time. So for instance, if you tap on something, the camera will focus on that, but it will also expose for that as well. So you're affecting both. So there are three methods of spot focusing. They are all really useful in certain situations and something that many people miss because it's hidden away in a menu. The spot meter focus is a little bit more complex because it's doing two things at once. So you go to the same menu, press spot meter focus, and when you press, say, a light area like I have on the screen, it goes dark. It also focuses there. If I press on the background, what will happen is it'll expose for the background and it'll focus on the background. You might see now the words are not quite in focus. So if I press the words which are blue, everything comes up bright and it's in focus. So here I'm focused and exposed for the flower. And if I tap on the bright part of the table, watch both the focus and exposure change. Now the table is focused and exposed correctly. I can go back to the flower as well. Normally though, you wouldn't be changing the settings while videoing unless you want to use it as a special effect. Hopefully this has answered a question that was put to me about the Sony camcorders, specifically actually the AX53, which is the one I'm using now, where someone had taken some stuff of themselves and the background was in focus and they weren't. So hopefully that's explained the spot focus on the AX53, and I think some of the CX cameras too. Hope to see you next time. Cheers for now.